there are certain ways of living that does seemingly seem more pleasurable, right? Not only to the eye, but to the mind, but to the body. Welcome to Outside of Eden, the podcast. I am Brianna, your host. Please excuse the noise if you can hear it. They're blowing the leaves away. So, you know what? The podcast still had to get done, and this is the time that God has allotted me. So we won't allow distractions or outside noise to interfere with what God has put into my heart. It's great to be back. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can be updated whenever I post new episodes. This episode, I am getting into breakthrough, and let's speak about a breakthrough that I just had. I just released a song. It's called "Let Us See the Glory." At the end of the video, I'll put the link to the song. I'll also put the song in the description box below, but it's also on all platforms. So I hope that you have a chance to listen to it, and I hope you enjoy it. Happy holidays. But besides this, I wanted to talk about breakthrough because I feel like breakthroughs are so powerful, and I feel like breakthroughs are something that we can use as a means to kind of just something to look forward to or something to hope for, right? Because I've realized in this life that challenges are ongoing, and I'm thinking that, eventually we'll get to a part of our life where we don't experience any type of challenge or affliction or struggle. And, I don't think that's going to happen until we are with the Lord and we are no longer here on this existence of earth. But then I thought to myself that my mindset or the way that I view challenges has to change, right? So that I don't avoid them, because, I was having a conversation with my coach, and she had me do like a saboteur test where you could see in what ways you are self-sabotaging, right? And so one of the ways that I do is I'm an avoider. Not necessarily that I'm a procrastinator, but I will essentially avoid the task. An avoider is someone who wants to do the task, but also has all these other tasks that they need to do. And so it could also just be like a prioritizing thing. Like, well, I'd rather do this task because it seems to be easier and it seems to be less stress as far as my brain is concerned. And so I'll go do the task that seems less daunting and avoid the task that really requires me to sit and requires me to marinate and requires me to give my attention to it and requires me to sweat a little bit. And so, that's just what I discovered about myself. And so the breakthroughs that we receive in life is something that allows me to look forward to getting on the other side of a challenge or the other side of a struggle. And I was listening to a pastor that preaches here. I cannot think of his name. I'm so sorry, guys. But he was talking about how like these different times in your life, you essentially have new problems. It's not that problems go away. It's just that your problems changes, right? And Pastor Darius likes to say your adversary changes, right? Because, he talks about David experiencing Saul turning against him. And so Saul was a king, and then you have Goliath, and he experienced having to fight Goliath, and Goliath was a Philistine. He was an actual like warrior for the Philistines. And so you see that David, like his problem changed, or it was that his adversary changed. He went from having an adversary of the King Saul seeking his life, to the other problem of having to fight Goliath. And so he's experiencing these two separate, different types of problems, but what he was fighting against, or whom he was fighting against, or the type of struggle that he was experiencing. And so you see these two different problems or fights or battles that David had to endure. His problems didn't didn't subside. They just changed. The type of problem changed. And Pastor Darius also likes to say new levels, new devils, or it's either Pastor Darius or Mark the Messenger. One of them says that. If you listen to them, one of them says new levels, new devils, and I think it's Mark. But when I think of breakthroughs, I think of this is literally like God empowering us, or God unleashing his power for us to be able to overcome these different obstacles that we're experiencing, or for us to be able to achieve something. It's like the resources of heaven coming down to earth. God is sending his resources, whether that is strength, whether that is finances, whether that is support or help. God is sending his power. And the breakthrough is the simple fact that I've gotten on the other side kind of thing. And so, and when I think of breakthroughs, I think a lot of the times of not just tangible breakthroughs where God may bless you with, a sum of money, but I like to think of it as spiritual breakthroughs. And when I say spiritual breakthroughs is when you think about it, you have an experience where, you stop cursing. That's a breakthrough. And you probably don't even realize, oh, shoot, I haven't cursed in a while. You are living in the middle of a breakthrough. Experiences where now I am able to discern when I'm in the midst of gossip. And if I feel myself being tempted to speak about something, I stop myself. So for me, that is a breakthrough, because I was at a point in my life where I was not even able to discern that what I was saying was slander, or what I was speaking about was gossip. I wasn't able to discern that. So for me to be in a space where I am holding my tongue when I speak, I am being cautious, I'm using discretion when I speak. For me, that is a breakthrough. If you are finally at a point where you can communicate how you feel without being scared of conflict, or without there being tension, or you blowing up or going crazy, or just being very emotional without taking time to marinate your emotions before you speak, and being cautious of how you use your words, that is a breakthrough. Because there has been a time in my life where if someone was to say something to me that was hurtful, I probably would respond with something hurtful as well. At the time, I understood how words, literally how the Bible tells us that there's life and death in the power of the tongue. Let me get the exact scripture. I do not like to just state scriptures and not state them correctly. It's Proverbs 18:21, and it says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. So, I understood that. I understood how much power words had. And so I was reckless with my words. I try not to just speak when I'm really, really emotional, like when I'm really feeling an array of emotions. I try to just wait a period of time for me to feel them first, for me to sort them out, and then speak about how I feel. That is a breakthrough. So you have these spiritual instances where God is increasing your strength in something, right? Is increasing your ability to deal or handle something. He's empowering you to overcome an obstacle, or to achieve something, or to, grow in something. Those are breakthroughs. Those are breakthroughs. And so they're definitely something that can be used to look forward to. And I wanted to go into the scriptures. I wanted to go into Jesus going into the wilderness. Before he began his ministry, he went through being tempted by the devil. And so if you go into Matthew 4:2, it says, after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And the tempter came and said to him, if you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread. But he answered, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. What I thought was so powerful in this scripture, and the revelation that God gave me, was if you go back right before the devil is tempting him to turn the stones into bread, if you go into Matthew 3:17, it says, "And behold, a voice from heaven said, 'This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased.'" If you notice, God had just prior to this declared Jesus as his son and declared that he was pleased with Jesus. After that, like literally right after that, the scripture takes us into his temptation of the enemy literally saying, "Okay, if you are the Son of God, basically prove it. Turn these stones into bread. Prove that you are the Son of God. Prove that you are who God says you are." When we're in these moments where we have these battles of what God said and what the enemy says, when we continue to believe and live, because that's what Jesus says to do, not to live on bread alone, but to live by every word that comes from the mouth of God. We literally have to live off that's what's so crazy. We have to live off the words that God says about us. He's showing us what to do when we are experiencing these moments where the devil is tempting us in the identity area, with the devil, when we're having these imposter syndrome types of emotions and experiences going on. And he's saying, when the enemy tries to come, because he will, and basically tempt you to prove who God says you are, I don't have to prove anything. If God says it, then it is. His word is his word is it. It is enough. And what he says about me is enough. So I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to overexert. I don't have to live above my means. I don't have to exhaust myself. I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to prove anything to man. Grace is given to us freely. Love is given to us freely. And whoever God says we are is who we are. And so the breakthrough is that point in which we know and we stand on it. And this is a moment where Jesus stood on the knowing and the words of God. God said I was his son, and that is enough. I don't live off of bread alone. You know what I mean? And I think even then it's like there's more to what he's saying, especially when it comes to man shall not live by bread alone. There's so much more that is being said within the scriptures, but that was something that really stood out to me. It's like a confidence battle. It's like a belief battle. It's like a testing of the belief. Do you believe that you are the Son of God? Are you the Son of God? Are you going to stand on the fact that you're the Son of God? Are you confident that you're the Son of God? Do you trust that you are the Son of God? You see what I'm saying? There's a lot that I feel like that is implying. But not only that, another thing that I noticed was that in Matthew 4:2, it says, "And after fasting 40 days and 40 nights." Notice the temptation came after fasting. And we know that fasting is a means to grow in our relationships with God, to grow closer to God, but also to humble ourselves, to increase our ability to hear him. And there's so many reasons in good that comes with fasting, but the most important is that it keeps you close to God. And so it's funny how the enemy wanted to come and tempt him after fasting, after he had been fasting 40 days and 40 nights. He knew that turning the stones into bread would tempt him to eat the bread, because he hadn't eaten for 40 days and 40 nights. If I eat the bread, I break my fast. If I break my fast, I am breaking my efforts to grow closer to God. You see what I'm saying? So the enemy knows the importance of our close relationship with God, because we can have a relationship with God and we may not necessarily be near and dear to him. We may just be doing the motions, kind of thing. And we're working on our closeness, but the enemy understands the importance of close relationship with God. And so that was something that really, dang, I didn't realize it. Like, he's literally basically trying to tempt Jesus to break his efforts to be close to God. So the efforts that we put in to be close to God, fasting being one of them, going to church, reading our Bible, all of these things, and the consistency that we have in these things, worshiping, all of the different things that we do in order to be close to God. And another reason why I bring this up is because living here and going to church, I've had so many experiences, you guys, where I would wake up and did not want to go to church. I had every excuse not to go. And then I would get there and I would want to leave. I'd literally be sitting there for like 15 minutes and I'm like, yeah, I think after the worship service, I'm going to leave. I literally am just in this battle to stay in the presence of God, to stay in close relationship with God. And some days I didn't go. I will be honest. Those days, my excuses got the best of me. My breakthrough came with my continuation to push, to be better than my best excuse and go to church, be in the presence of God, and because worship invites the presence of God. And so I finally woke up one day and realized I no longer had that struggle. I began to have a natural desire to want to go to church and be in his presence and be fed the word. It became a natural desire out of nowhere. And now I'm to the point where I'm just like, dude, I do not want to miss church. I don't want to be late to church. Do not make me late. Be dressed on time. Like it's like a craving now. Like I want to be there. But at first I struggled. And this is just me experiencing a challenge once again. And eventually my breakthrough came to where God had given me that desire naturally. He had renewed my mind and my heart concerning it. He had given me the strength to get up, the energy to get up, because all of these things play a role when we really sit and think about how blessed we are to have health to be able to get up and go to church. I could be paralyzed and not able to walk. You see what I'm saying? To have time to get up and go to church. It's like the time that he gives us to go to church and read our Bible and all of these other things, the strength, the endurance, the health, the energy, the focus. There's so many elements that goes into this that we like sometimes we don't really think about. It's like there's a certain level of capacity that we have to have. We have to have time. We have to have energy. We have to have the focus. We have to have a clear mind because, like, if I'm worried, it's hard for me to focus at church on the, reading and prayer. You know what I mean? So it's just like all of these things. This is God unleashing his power from heaven for us to be able to do what we are able to do and to in order to be able to stay within close relationship with him. So I think that's something very powerful to think about. And lastly, I'm going to wrap up with this part of the scripture. And I think I'll continue breakthrough next week because there was more that I wanted to point into. But when we go into Matthew 4:8, it says, again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory. And he said to him, all of these I will give you if you will fall down and worship me. Then Jesus said to him, be gone, Satan. It is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. So you see here in this moment, it's almost like an example of how the devil can basically just offer or tempt us to go in these seemingly better paths, seemingly quicker paths, seemingly easier or different or more desired paths. He's offering him something that God had already claimed and declared over his life as the Son of God. So he's offering him, hey, if you worship me, I'll give it to you. I'll give all of this to you. All of this will be yours, the kingdoms of the world and their glory. Jesus was going to receive that anyway. This is better. Let me take you to the high mountain. It seems as if this route or what I am being offered or tempted to go into seems better. And so when you continue on the narrow path and you continue on the path that God has given you and you continue the way in which God has instructed you to do it and you continue to do it the righteous way. And so this way, when we endure in this, we will see a breakthrough. The seeds that you have been sowing, you will receive a harvest, or you'll receive a breakthrough. You'll see that you've increased in strength, you've increased in consistency, you've increased. Something has happened to where you are different. Like there is a literal spiritual breakthrough that has happened. Your mind has been changed and renewed. Your consistency has changed. Your strength has changed. Your way of thinking and viewing and acting and behaving has changed. You have experienced a breakthrough. If you are currently living in a breakthrough, I encourage you to share it, comment and sharing what breakthrough you're currently experiencing. I think it's powerful that sometimes we're living in the breakthroughs and we don't even realize it. Like we don't even realize, oh shoot, until we actually like examine and look back to how things used to be and how we used to be. We realize, oh wow, like God has really done work within me, and I have really overcome who I used to be, or overcome this version of myself, and I'm no longer that person, kind of thing. And so the enemy will try and tempt you to go back into old ways of being, in old lifestyles and old versions of yourself, right? Because that came quickly, or that was easier, or that was more fun, or that seemed to be better because it was more pleasing or pleasurable, not only to the eyes, but to the body and to the mind. Maybe it was more pleasing. There are certain ways of living that does seemingly seem more pleasurable, right? Not only to the eye, but to the mind, but to the body, but to the mouth, the taste, and but I think I am getting to the point where I'm learning that God knows what's best. He knows what's better. He knows, you know what I mean? Like just when I think that I know that what's best for me, or better for me, or more pleasurable for me, he knows what is better, And it doesn't mean that it's that the process of getting to the breakthrough is going to be easy. It just means that I will receive it as long as I endure. But that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and share with someone you love. And don't forget to check out my new single, Let Us See the Glory. It was something that I'm excited to finally share it. I struggled. I struggled with the process of sharing, and I was just like, Brianna, just do it. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I will see you in the next episode of Outside You.